Hey guys, Cam here from TodaysiPhone.com, and today I've got a bit of a different video from usual. Now, if you've been following our site for a while and read a lot of our articles, you'll know that a couple of times I've mentioned what my idea of a perfect iOS would be. Obviously I love using the iPhone, the iPad. I have to write about it every day, all day. So it's not like I don't like it, but I think it's not perfect, and there are certainly things I would love to see changed. I think I wrote an article maybe last month or the month previous to that, just saying some of the things I would love to see in iOS 7. A lot of them were to do with like notifications, multitasking, but my biggest problem with iOS is the one that's been my biggest problem ever since day one when I first got my iPhone. I switched from a T-Mobile G1 to the iPhone 3GS. That was my first Apple smartphone, and immediately the confusion was that all the apps were on the home screen. It wasn't like they were hidden away in a drawer somewhere. They were just there. They were blocking your screen. You couldn't put wallpapers on it anyway, but even if I did, you couldn't see it. So that's been my biggest frustration with iOS for a long time now, and I've jailbroken my iPhone recently, and I thought I would give you the 10 tweaks that I've used to ensure that my iOS is as good and close to my idea of perfect as possibly could be. So here are my 10 tweaks. So my first two I'll talk about together because they're very similar. There's Diet Bulletin and Diet Bar. Now, Diet Bar essentially shrinks your status bar on any app to about half the size, making the text smaller, taking up less room, which is great when you're doing things like text messaging. You haven't got a huge block on top of your display. You can actually see a lot more of the conversation, so it doesn't waste space. And Diet Bulletin is very similar. Instead of having your notification kind of alert thingy that kind of scrolls at the top in a big white bar, instead of that, it shrinks it down, makes it slimmer, and it is black instead of white. Again, taking up less room, less irritating, less invasive, just making it a little bit more friendly, if you like. I prefer it that way. It's my personal choice. 3. Obviously, Winterboard, you can't go anywhere without it. It's what most people will use and do use to install themes. I've got a theme called Icon. Essentially, I've always hated iOS app icons. They've been completely unchanged virtually since I first got my iPhone 3GS, so it's a nice change. I might change it again, but it's kind of there. Now, number 4 is one that got a lot of press, maybe about a month ago, perhaps more than that even. It's called Auxo. It's essentially a multitasking app. When you double tap the home key, instead of just getting your icons on the bottom underneath where the dock would normally be, you get like a little screenshot as well as that. It takes up a little bit more space, but it looks so cool. But that's not the main reason I bought it. I downloaded it primarily because it comes with a selection of toggle switches where you can switch Bluetooth, 3G, AirPlay mode, silent, all sorts of stuff. You can just go straight there, switch stuff off and have it off. You don't have to dig through settings or go through a ton of menus to get there. It's just there with little toggles. It's fantastic, and it's something that I think iOS really needs to have built in. Ideally, I would like to have it in the notification center, but I've downloaded stuff like SBS settings, and I really didn't like the user interface. I find the user interface in Auxo is a lot more professional. It's a bit more polished, and it just goes better with iOS as a whole. It doesn't look like it doesn't belong. It looks like it should be there, and that's why I really like it. And that's just another little tweak that helps it towards my almost perfect version of iOS. Again, there's two jailbreak tweaks, number 5 and 6, I guess, in this list that kind of go together are InfiniFolder and Folder Enhancer. Now, what InfiniFolder does is that it allows you to put as many apps as you like into one folder, so you're not limited to 12. So that's really great for me because I've got tons of games that I've reviewed and I like, and I keep them on my iPhone. Now, Folder Enhancer kind of allows you to do other stuff as well. You can put folders within folders, and then you can put that folder on the dock. So my idea of a perfect iOS essentially was to have all my apps in a drawer. Now obviously I can't do that even with this, so what I've done instead is I've got 3 icons on my dock. One of them is a folder full of all my apps. So now I've only got one single home screen, and it's got 4 apps that I need to use all the time, on that home screen, and there are 3 in the dock. There's phone, there's a folder full of apps, which has got in itself folders with loads of apps in them. Also on the dock, along with that folder and the phone, is camera. So I've got the 3 of the things that I want to use all the time on the dock, and everything else is hidden away in an app drawer. Now, what a lot of people seem to question a lot of the time when I say this is, why don't you just delete apps and then reinstall them? And now the problem with that is that when I've deleted them, I don't have instant access to them, and being a full-time iPhone blogger, editor, I need a lot of apps. I need a lot of games, I need a lot of apps for productivity, and all sorts of other stuff, and they're apps that I use quite regularly, so they have to be there. I just want them hidden away so they're not filling up my home screen or making me have tons of home screens. So I found this to be the great way to tidy up my home screen and just have everything in that one folder. It's fantastic. Number 7 in my list is one that most people have on their phones if they've jailbroken. It's called Barrel. Now, what that does is it changes the animations when you slide between pages. So I don't particularly like the sideways scrolling. I think it's dull. I prefer going, I know it's not much of a change, but I prefer the vertical scrolling. So although I've only got one home screen in my app full of games, I do have enough that it fills more than one screen within that folder. So I slide up and it just kind of keeps on going. It's really nice. You can have other effects that are a bit more fancy, but without having tons of home screens, they don't really make much sense. Another one that I've used is called Springtomize. Now what this can do is that you can, essentially, you can choose how, it edits all sorts of stuff. It's not limited to one thing. You can change how many folders, what your folders look like, whether your apps have names on them, how many icons you have in a dock. You can change so many things within the basic structure of iOS, whether it's the size of the app icons or whatever. And so I've used that just to tweak a few little pieces. I've got 3 icons in the dock, but that's not to do with Springtomize. You can do that anyway. But there are a few little tweaks in Springtomize that I've used just to make it a little bit more perfect for me. Number 9 is Hook's Law, or percent Hook's Law. I don't know why they call it that. I guess so it just shows up really quickly in the search when you look for it in Cydia. Now what Hook's Law does is that it fools you into thinking that your phone is working a lot faster than it is. It essentially just speeds up the animations between transitions, but it's fully customizable. You can make it more springy, less springy, you can make it slow, fast. Essentially you've got to pretend like the animation is a spring, so you can change the density of the spring, the stiffness, and the speed of it. Now I've got it so that it's virtually seamless, so it just goes really, really quickly, transitions between apps and settings and all that kind of stuff, so that it just feels like it's a bit more efficient. Now the last one isn't necessarily something that I would want to see in a default iOS, it's just something I like. It's called Zeppelin, and basically you can use it to change your carrier logo into a familiar brand logo which is in the list. I've chosen a Stormtrooper, but you could quite easily have a Nike swoosh or a Batman bat logo thing. Okay, that's been my list. That's how I've set up iOS the way I want to. The main aim of it was to get quick access to settings toggles, and also to have an app where a folder where all my apps were, where it wasn't in the way and they weren't taking up my home screen. They're all in the dock, really nicely tucked away, and I can put as many apps as I like into any of the folders. That's something that I really wanted. So I've kind of almost virtually achieved everything I want in iOS just by jailbreaking and installing these tweaks. What I'd like to see from you is, how have you customized your phone with jailbreak tweaks, or have you not jailbroken yet? If you haven't, you can say why. Comment why haven't you jailbroken? Is it something you're scared of doing in case your phone dies or blows up? Just let us know what your thoughts are. You can leave your comments, questions, thoughts in the comment section as always, or you can tweet me. I'm at @TIP_cam, and I will see you again soon, I'm sure, for another video of some kind. Goodbye.